Hell yeah. What's up, JD? Welcome to Ice Cream You Mean People.
Hi, what's up?
Yeah. Today, so we have a topic. I forget if we talked about this. We didn't record this. No, okay, never mind. Nobody will know about this. So this happened completely with just me and JD talking. We're talking about Yorgos Lanthimos, the Greek
yes.
weird wave filmmaker.
Yes.
And we were discussing his new film, Poor Things, which I had not seen, which I just saw last night. JD, have you seen Poor Things?
I had not seen it, but I told you at the time that I was just looking at the Wikipedia page for it because I saw, I guess the book cover of it, and I was like, what is this about? And then so I read the Wikipedia page for the book.
Yeah. So. Oh, man, I thought you were like, we'll discuss on the podcast. So I was like, Joe, JD has seen it for sure.
No,
you haven't seen it.
Because, listen, man, I don't watch movies. I told you how my form of watching movies is walking behind the couch as my parents watch something on FX. Right. So, I vicariously I'm going to watch it through you and through Wikipedia.
This movie would not get onto FX. It's definitely not on cable. There's a lot of flesh being displayed. There's a lot of peen, and a lot of sex and I wouldn't say it's not like sexy sex. It's just I think Yorgos Lanthimos is very much interested in bodies, the human body, because it's about sexuality, and then the other parallel is surgery. So it's two forms of fairly graphic body depictions tend to be going through the movie. That being said, it was my favorite of his movies that I've seen.
Yeah. Ben, tell the land what you think about the Yorgos.
I'm not a big fan of most of Yorgos's shit. I did not care for The Killing of the Sacred Deer, which have you seen that one?
No. What was the one that I've watched?
Have you seen The Favorite?
I've seen bits of The Favorite. Okay. From
over your parents' shoulders while you were
no, from Twitter. I think.
Yeah. What else has he got? He's got Dogtooth, which was one of his earliest ones, and he's got The Lobster, which is marketed as a comedy, and was the first one I ever watched of his.
Wait, I have seen Killing of a Sacred Deer. Okay. It was in a class. And when it was in a class.
Yes. Okay. Cool. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I think between that, so you read the book synopsis, right? It's and the author, I guess the author of the book is kind of lumped in a lot with Franz Kafka and Italo Calvino. So, it's very kind of surreal, dreamlike atmosphere, I would imagine, in the book, and I think that's really comes through in the movie. And because I think Yorgos' dialogue is always kind of inhuman, I think it fits well with the kind of surreal, dreamlike atmosphere of Poor Things.
Yeah. I saw the trailer of it. It's very whimsical, imaginative kind of thing, and then some of the dialogue that was it Apple TV that had posted long bits of the movie, and I was just watching it. It was the part where they're she's walking with a guy through some wooded area, and they're talking about marrying her. With
Rami Youssef.
Yes, yeah. It was that scene, and I was like, oh, cool.
Yeah, I think it was very kind of clear, philosophical kind of stuff. It's kind of a Frankenstein story, a little bit of this. You read the book synopsis, right? So spoilers for Poor Things or not really spoilers, but kind of the concept is that there's there's this scientist that finds a pregnant woman's dead body and puts the brain of the fetus into the mother's body and then reanimates it. And so that's who we're following through the whole film, which it's kind of a Frankenstein thing, and it's weird. It's as weird as the concept sounds. Yeah. So you saw the trailer? I didn't see the trailer.
I saw the trailer, and then I saw parts where she's dancing with Mark Ruffalo and all of those parts. Right. So that was in the trailer. Yeah, I saw the trailer because I think I was really taken in by how Emma Stone looked in this one. Yeah,
I think it was interesting Emma Stone performance. So there was some discourse on Letterboxd of people feeling it marketed itself as a feminist story, and they feel they didn't deliver on that. Which did you feel that from the trailer in your experience, that it was a feminist?
Yeah, when I watched the trailer, it definitely was it is the story about this lady
Yeah.
and the things that she is going to go through or has gone through.
Mhm.
And then it was definitely I think then I looked more into it, not reading the synopsis because I didn't the book synopsis because I didn't even know it was like from a book
Right,
at
yeah.
that point in time. I was just like, what is this very whimsical movie that
Yeah.
Emma Stone and Mark Ruffalo are in? And I did kind of give off of as not like, oh, this is a feminist focus on this thing, but it
Yeah.
felt very like women focused,
Mhm.
forward. This is this woman's like da 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 kind of thing.
Yeah, so I mean, I think it's interesting. I mean, like, I think the gender examination of gender in it was interesting because it is like she is a woman's body with like a child's brain,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so
Mhm.
she doesn't really observe kind of like societal norms. Like, there's like a recurring thing of like the men trying to like kind of control her, but she just like does not give a fuck because she's like, you know, in her brain like a 5-year-old. And so
Yeah.
things are just like, I don't give a fuck, even though she presents as like a grown woman, you know?
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
that's why I revisited the wiki page of both the movie and the book.
Yeah.
Because when I had just seen like the trailer without like any of that context of anything about it further, I was just
Mhm.
like, oh, this is like a story about this woman who's into the like who has this kind of work, blah blah, and all the men following her. And then I think I saw someone tweet about like something like Emma Stone said about like portraying this character,
Yeah.
like not seeing or not portraying her as like a woman with a child's brain,
Mhm.
but she was like portraying her or like moving as like a woman when she was like doing scenes
Yeah.
that you wouldn't necessarily want to have the context of like, oh, that's the child in that woman's body doing all these
Yeah.
things. So
Right.
and then I was like, straight to the Wikipedia page.
Mhm.
What is this about?
Yeah.
So
yeah. It's a very like psychosexual, like I think there's probably some good like kind of Freudian or like Lacan style readings of it because it's very much like the development of like a person, but it's to the extent that it's like a strictly like feminist thing. I mean, I feel like Yorgos is so kind of weird and dreamlike and surreal. It felt more kind of just like general existentialist shit to me, than really dealing with like kind of the philosophical aspects of like gender so much as kind of just being a human or being kind of this monstrous blend of two people in one type thing. So it was interesting, but I definitely, I think maybe the marketing made it seem more whimsical. Definitely probably more made it seem more whimsical than it is, I would imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think like the marketing definitely was like, I was going to get this like whimsical look into this not so whimsical idea kind of thing. And I don't know, maybe I left it alone because the marketing was so weird. And I was like, maybe this is not how I want to tackle that idea. Yeah.
I mean, there's definitely like kind of, I think surreal maybe is more than whimsy. It's like surreal. It's like the kind of
like surreal.
Yeah.
It's not whimsy. It's just not like, this is not Alice in Wonderland, but it is like surreal. Like doll. If you put Dolly in your brain about like that kind of thing, but it is like that kind of like imagery of like the wobbly sort of larger than life weirdness to it.
Yeah, and like I think the set design is really gorgeous. Like there's like a lot of like full cities built on like sound stages that are like very pretty surrealist kind of that kind of early 20th century look to it. So overall I enjoyed it. I think as far as Yorgos goes, it's definitely my favorite Yorgos film, probably because I went in with like expectations of not liking it because I have not liked most of his stuff. But
you've seen The Lobster, which is like, okay, like I'll watch like a Yorgos film trailer and I'm like, this is interesting.
Yeah.
But I rarely go beyond like cool trailer.
Right.
I don't know if like Killing of the Sacred Deer like impacted me because I barely remember that was a Yorgos one because I watched it in the context of like a class.
Right.
And I think it was like a sex and gender film class. So I don't even remember him like the Yorgos title next to it. But whenever I encounter like a trailer, I'm just like, cool trailer.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I mean, that's like, I feel like the trailer, the trailer film mismatch is probably pretty high with like a Yorgos film because I feel like his thing is being kind of weird and making people feel uncomfortable. And generally speaking, trailers are kind of like, you want to come see this? This is going to be a fun time. And it's like, probably not with the filmmaker.
He's like, do you really want to watch this? And I'm like, Yorgos, no, I don't actually.
Yeah, right. This ain't Wonka. This is
I don't Oh my god.
But
yeah, so maybe that is going to draw me into more than just looking at the Wikipedia
Mhm.
page and the film page of it, which is how primarily I've told Ben this. Primarily, if a movie, I have to really, 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 really want to watch a movie to watch the movie
Yeah.
as it comes out, or like within a year and a half of it.
Mhm.
My main encounters with movies is like if it's playing on FX and my parents watched it and I walked behind them several times.
Mhm.
So I'll get bits and pieces of the movie. Or if I looked it up on Wikipedia and read the entire Wikipedia page
Right.
and IMDb page, and I just sort of like by osmosis, I feel like
You picked up enough of it. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, I get it enough.
Yeah.
So I really, really had to want to watch a movie to like go and see it. What does that say about me actually going and seeing Five Nights at Freddy's?
Yeah, you were really about it.
Was I really about it, or was I just like, I'm not paying for this?
Yeah, that's fair. But it's the commitment to the podcast. It's a very podcast topical film, I think.
Yeah, but I still haven't seen the Dear David movie.
Oh yeah,
because
is that available anywhere? I feel like that shit did not get much
I think it
fanfare.
was like Hulu or like those like streaming Hulu, Apple TV, something like that.
Yeah, right.
We tried and looked it up one time. I think it was maybe because I just have something against Adam Ellis.
That's fair.
Know,
yeah.
That I was like, maybe I'm not watching Dear David this year.
Straight to Vimeo for Dear David. Yeah.
Straight to Vimeo, straight to Daily Motion. You know, but yeah. So maybe that will help me watch Poor Things within the next 5 years instead of 10.
Yeah, if you got 2.5 hours to kill and you want to watch something weird, go for it.
Yeah, nice.
Well, yeah, speaking of transporting yourself to fictional worlds, shall we get into our kind of shared topic this time?
Yeah, shared topic.
Yeah.
Ben.
Yeah.
Bring it on home.
We're talking about reality shifting. So, reality shifting, as defined by the FAQ you say FAQ or FAQ? I usually say FAQ personally.
I say FAQ.
FAQ, okay.
Or I'll say FAQ if I'm like been saying it way too much.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, FAQ it. The reality shifting subreddit says, shifting is the act of transferring your awareness to a different reality. You can go to any reality you want, whether it be 2D or 3D, from a movie / book / show / anime, or a past memory of your life. The subreddit has 109,000 members, and it's a restricted subreddit, so you have to be confirmed to get in that one. Videos on reality shifting have gained billions of views on TikTok, on YouTube, some instructionals, and some videos critiquing the practice have also gained millions of views. There's an associated glossary of terms to go along with shifting. What we might call base reality, or potentially the real world, is referred to as your current reality, which is usually abbreviated to CR. The reality you want to go to is called your desired reality, and this is often shortened to DR. Now, shockingly, there's not a whole lot of consistency in how you get from your CR to your DR, but something that is often recommended is having a script. So the script is like your kind of stats sheet and the rules for when you enter your DR. So to get deeper into scripts, let's consider That One Writer Girl 103's ebook, Shifting, parentheses, How to Shift, plus my experiences, plus my scripts, where she breaks the script down into 5 sections. Number 1, about me. Between number 1, there is a B, C ranking. So 1A is a base physical appearance, 1B is your name, 1C is your accent, 1D is your skills and talents. Then number 2 is your personality traits. 2A is I didn't really understand why this wasn't part of 1. Personality traits seems to me like it would kind of go in the about me section, but I didn't read the book, so That One Writer Girl 103 has her reasons. Number 3, what is your life like in your desired reality? And this is mainly where you build the relationships between you and other characters in the world. Are you fucking Draco Malfoy? If not, why aren't you fucking Draco Malfoy? That sort of thing, right? Number 4 is the rules. So these can include things about your character, such as, say, I can't get pregnant, I'm always perfectly shaved, or aspects of your time in your DR, right? So like 1 minute of time in my current reality equals 10 hours in my desired reality. Rules like I cannot become stuck in my DR, and I will remember everything that happens in my DR when I return to my CR, right? So those are the kind of the rules you set out. You also build your backstory. So here's where you get into your background. You write about your personal history within the world. It seems like this could also fit into, kind of number 3, what is your life like? But again, I'm editorializing. Number 6, you also want your characters and place descriptions. So what are the characters in your DR like? Specifically, how do they smell? How do they act? What is their relationship to you? Where is Draco Malfoy and how down the fuck is he? Yes.
How do they smell? Is that like, did you just sort of like say that, or is that
That
like
was included in
Okay.
that one Writer's Girl thing.
Okay.
So I mean, that's like, it's a sensory experience, right? Like, how do you want to the people around you to be? There was like all the stuff like, like make sure like not racist or like not homophobic, right? You specify how you want people to behave in your DR.
Okay.
Yeah. But those are just a suggestion for the script. As that one Writer Girl 103 closes her post, quote, "In your script, you can anything you want, as it is for you." So with your script in hand, you might be wondering what the next step is. And this is where the kind of decentralized nature of reality shifting and the methods starts to come through. So that one Writer Girl 103 covers 2 methods. The Raven method, which involves laying in bed with the door closed, being already tired, potentially playing some subliminals, which are like YouTube videos where it's like, I've already shifted. I am shifting. I am in my desired reality, that kind of stuff. And continually counting mentally from 1 to 100 while repeating the phrase mentally, I am shifting from 1 to 50. And then I have shifted from 51 to 100. All the while, you're focusing on your desired reality. The second method, the pillow method, simply involves putting your script under your pillow when you go to sleep. But this one is recommended for advanced practitioners only. So you might not get there if it's your first time. The FAQ on r/shifting realities lists 18 additional methods for shifting realities. So here we go for the rest of my script. Just kidding. There's also 31 methods listed on the reality shifting wiki of the 20. They have like categories on some of them, and the ones that are categorized, which there's 20 of those, are by mental state. So 5 only work when you're awake, 10 only work when you're asleep, and 5 will work either way. So sleeping is kind of more represented in terms of reality shifting, right? So, there's many ways to book your trip from your CR to your DR, whether you're conscious during that trip or not. And as I've set up, being asleep or dreaming does factor into reality shifting. And this has led some people outside of the community to categorize reality shifting as a form of lucid dreaming. But many practitioners I came across do not feel like it's a fair comparison. They think that the experience of reality shifting is completely different from lucid dreaming or astral projection. They believe it's its own thing. So here are some of the symptoms of reality shifting from an amino post by 3 apostrophes. I'm not sure how I would, that's it, 3 apostrophes. So you might feel tingles, headaches, feeling like you're floating, feeling like you're spinning, white lights, feeling like you're never going to shift. You might feel homesick or wanting to go home to your DR, feeling people from your DR touching you, hearing voices of people from your DR, acting like your DR self as you scripted, dreaming of your DR, shortness of breath or chest pains, angel numbers, higher vibrations. You may feel tired even after sleeping, numb, twitching, or dizziness. Among the listed angel numbers was...
9/11, baby!
Which... Sorry.
With an angel number, I thought you were gonna yell like 69 or...
No.
I was so ready already. I was like, he's gonna say 69.
It could have gone a lot of ways, but listed was...
I was like, I had my hand over here.
Yeah.
I had it on the audio just in case.
I wouldn't scream. No, I would just play a really loud clip for you.
So I was prepared for one thing, but not the other.
Yeah. So 9/11 in angel numbers means stay positive. You're doing great. So just so you know, I just came across that. That has nothing to do with the rest of my script. One of the more present questions mentioned in most FAQs and guides I came across was, is it a sin to reality shift? And the answer to that from the community is a resounding no. One of the other pressing questions about reality shifting is, what happens to my body when I shift? And the answer to this is a little bit more controversial. The answer, which is not wholly accepted by the reality shifting community, is something called clones. So your clone is the consciousness that keeps up appearances while you're mentally railing Draco Malfoy, right? Yeah. So some people have concerns about like what clones are. Are they alternate versions of you? Where do they come from? Can they be evil? Can they wreak havoc in your life? But the explanation from Christo who's a popular reality shifting YouTuber, is that, quote, when we shift, our souls are not in our bodies, essentially living in a state of hibernation. All it can do is sleep because it can't think without the mind being present. That's why we have a clone. It splits off from our soul and inhabits our body in place of us. Don't worry about the splitting part. Our soul is infinite, so it can be split infinitely. So as she explains, because your clone is a part of you, it's not evil, unless you're evil, and won't act in a way that you wouldn't, because it's you. She also offers a workaround that if you shift while you're asleep, then your clone will only ever be sleeping, and so there's no need to worry about the clone anyway, because you'll be asleep. Another YouTuber, Shimmy Shay, reassured her audience that your clone is, quote, kind of just you on autopilot, but you're not exactly on autopilot, if that makes sense. But there are some that don't believe in clones, such as the Redditor Geldrine, who posted, quote, there is nothing you leave behind that you get back to. There is nothing you get into when you shift. It's simply always you experiencing the reality you choose. And the new memories, body features, places, people are all equally part of the reality your consciousness experiences. And to conclude, this obviously and logically means that, yes, you can script things for your CR. It's just another reality you're going into every second, aka manifesting.
Is this like sort of along the lines of the question of like, if you like that one thing that's like, if you die in your dream, you die in real life, kind of like situation of like
kind of. I mean, it's kind of the opposite, because you're like, opposite. You are not in your consciousness in your CR. You are in the dream world. And usually, like, when you're writing your script, you'll include like, I cannot die, or if I die, I return to my current reality. So you have your safe falls. And I think generally people are like, yeah, even if you don't script it, you still won't die in your desired reality and not return to your current reality. So yeah. Cool. So I think that these kind of perspectives on clones represents kind of a central split in the reality shifting community, a schism between two perspectives on shifting, the multiverse theory or subconscious theory shifters. So as Redditor Quirky Wino, a multiverse theorist, puts it, quote, the multiverse theory is people that believe when we shift to another universe. The consciousness theory is people that believe we just shift our consciousness. We don't actually go there. I have to say, the consciousness theory is stupid. It goes against the whole idea of shifting. Before this theory came about, people knew we shifted to other actual universes, but some people on Shift Talk made up the consciousness theory. The people that believe the consciousness theory still don't think it's possible to shift universes. They're still saying they think shifting is lucid dreaming, which it isn't. The consciousness theory is dumb. We knew before the theory was made up, we were shifting to other universes. Honestly, I'll say that the people that believe in consciousness theory don't actually believe in shifting, as the consciousness theory goes against everything we know about shifting.
They're fine. Presidential alert, the girls are fine.
They're heated. It's getting heated in there. And a lot of the responses in there were kind of like, I don't think it really matters, because we still are shifting. It doesn't, like, explanation. So, there obviously it's a Reddit thread. There was a lot of people on both sides, but there was also a fair number of people that were like, hey, we just are doing the experience. We're experiencing shifting. I don't care how it happens, which right on.
Centrists.
Right.
They're like, you know what? We're fucking doing it regardless.
We get it done. But yeah, so like, let's kind of get into, because there's the many worlds interpretation is kind of the quantum bedrock that all of the reality shifting is built on. So are you familiar with the many worlds interpretation?
No.
Okay. So let's start off with kind of how it's perceived and put forward in the reality shifting world. This is from a Reddit post on the multiverse theory within the reality shifting page. Quote, going off of the many worlds interpretation of quantum physics, there are infinite universes offering every possibility to exist simultaneously. Any difference, big or small, that could possibly exist is out there in one of these realities, these many realities. So instead of going off on this, let's go in, because that does partially align with the many worlds interpretation. So a fundamental problem in quantum mechanics has been the collapse of the wave function, right? When a particle, a quantum particle, is unobserved, say an electron or an atom, let's say we're trying to determine, it's spinning up or down. We can use an equation to find the probability of the particle spinning either up or down. But while it's unobserved, the particle acts as if it's doing both. The particle could be doing either, and the only way that we know what it's doing or establish that it's doing a certain thing is by observing it, right? And it is pretty weird because it's quantum physics and it's bonkers shit. So when you observe it, it can no longer be doing both things. It can only be doing one thing. So the wave function, which determines probability, collapses. Now, another flag on the quantum play here, because early physicists thought that maybe this collapse of the wave function meant that consciousness of the observer was altering the behavior of the particles. So this led to a lot of readings of quantum physics as reality being able to be controlled through your consciousness in the kind of new age sphere. But the consensus of most physicists now is that it's not the observation so much as it is the measurement. So there doesn't need to be like a human brain involved, right? A conscious mind doesn't have to be involved. Just a device that can measure something about the particle. Again, you could argue that the measurement being done is for an observer, and therefore consciousness is still controlling the outcomes, but that's getting a little bit into the weeds, right? The math doesn't really care. The math doesn't seem to care if there's a conscious observer or not. So back to the basics. The classic thought experiment to consider superposition, which is kind of potential state of quantum particles, is Schrodinger's cat. So we're going to run through that again. I know everybody's heard it a million times, but yeah. So Schrodinger, physicist, imagined a cat placed in a container with a radioactive atom and a device which could detect radiation and release cyanide gas. So if the atom decayed, the device would detect radiation and activate, releasing the gas, killing the cat. If the atom did not decay, the device would not release gas and the cat would be fine. But there would be no way of knowing what happened without opening the box. So as long as the box is closed, the cat was in a sense both living and dead, as both possibilities were equally possible. Schrodinger did not feel comfortable with the idea that the wave function would collapse, right? To him, it was, quote, patently absurd that the wave function should be controlled in two entirely different ways, at times controlled by the wave equation, but occasionally by direct interference of the observer, not controlled by the wave equation. The many worlds interpretation provides a workaround to this patently absurd situation. So Schrodinger was he's not really credited as being the originator of the many worlds interpretation, but he did propose it as an idea. So he thought maybe there's two parallel universes. They're identical, except for what happens when the container holding the cat is opened, right? In one universe, the cat is revealed to be dead, and in the other universe, the cat is revealed to be alive. Schrodinger's interpretation never really picked up much steam, and then 5 years later, Hugh Everett independently arrived at a version of the many world interpretation that more closely mimics what we think of now. That the universe split when the container is opened, right? So from one universe with a cat in superposition comes two universes, one with a cat alive, one with a dead cat. Everett pointed out that, quote, since no observer would ever be aware of the existence of the other worlds, to claim that they cannot be there because we cannot see them is no more valid than claiming that the Earth cannot be orbiting the sun because we cannot feel the movement. This is from his thesis back in 1957. Everett also proposed a universal wave function, which is exactly what it sounds like, a wave function not dealing with a single particle, but with the entire universe. To quote John Gribben, the universal wave function describes the position of every particle in the universe at a particular moment in time, but it also describes every possible location of those particles at that instant. And it also describes every possible location of every particle at any other instant of time, although the number of possibilities is restricted by quantum graininess of space and time.
Yeah.
The mind is blown. It's really out there. With these near infinite number of alternate universes, there would also be many that would not be able to support life, but there would also be many that would, and that would mirror our own. Physicist David Deutsch even proposes that any fictional world that obeys our laws of physics could be possible. So, still not admitting that there's a universe where Draco Malfoy is a pass-around party bottom, but we're getting somewhere. Maybe. So, see, there's a bit of a problem with many worlds interpretation as a whole. And that's that it doesn't really provide any more evidence than other forms of interpretations about quantum mechanics. So a lot of these are more mathy than I care to get into or am capable of really explaining. I've linked to a video by physicist Sabine Hossenfelder breaking down some of the issues with the many worlds interpretation. To sum it up, it's not that the many worlds interpretation doesn't work as an interpretation, but that is not the only possible interpretation, and it is not stronger or weaker than any of the other interpretations that we currently have. So you can believe in the many world interpretation, but it is more a matter of belief than a matter of evidence. It's not falsifiable, right? Quantum physics is a complicated subject. That's part of why it's such an appealing basis to explain New Age beliefs. And there are physicists who struggle to describe quantum mechanics to the point of saying that language is just not enough. We can't fully describe what's happening with quantum particles with human language. Theoretical physicist Richard Feynman, who was awarded the Nobel Prize for his work in quantum mechanics, once said, quote, "I think I can safely say that nobody really understands quantum mechanics. Do not keep saying to yourself, if you can possibly avoid it, but how can it be like that? Because you will go down the drain into a blind alley from which nobody has yet escaped." So this quote is often used to justify whatever belief about the nature of reality someone is kind of using a quantum justification for. But I think it's more to do with how mysterious and strange quantum mechanics is on its own terms. You can dedicate your life to researching it and still kind of walk away without a clear understanding of why what's happening is happening, which is pretty cool. What hope do I, as a podcaster with a social science background, have of explaining things? None. But I would like to plug a book that I found interesting and is also like 100 pages, so it's a pretty quick read. And it's called 6 Impossible Things, The Mystery of the Quantum World by John Gribben. So check it out if you're into quantum shit, written pretty clearly. And it gets into interpretations of problems in quantum mechanics. The main takeaway being that aside from quantum mechanics makes my brain hurt, all of these interpretations are weird and all of them are equally plausible. So you have to choose what you want to believe. And it really kind of does come down to preference and whatever argument you feel is the most compelling. But
like a choose your adventure
kind of
situation.
Yeah, kind of. Because it's, I mean, you know, it's all this different kind of stuff about space time. It's just really like, yeah, these different kind of cosmologies, all possible. Can't say for sure. But speaking of belief, a frequently mentioned thinker on Shifter social media is Neville Goddard.
Ooh.
Are you familiar with Neville Goddard?
No.
It's a good name, right? Like it's a solid kind of like spiritualist name. So he's an interesting guy. He was born in Barbados in 1905 to a wealthy plantation family, but a lot of his early life is pretty mysterious. He moved to New York when he was 17 to study theater and became a stage actor and vaudeville dancer. This is also when he started getting involved in metaphysics and the spiritual scene of the day. He claims that he was mentored by an Ethiopian rabbi named Abdullah, who taught him about Hebrew, scripture, and Kabbalah. He grew increasingly interested in metaphysics and spirituality and became a lecturer. In the 1930s, people had a lot less going on and would just go listen to somebody with dubious qualifications talk about a random subject for hours. Not like our podcast listeners at all. Hey. So Neville was drafted into the army in 1942, and in November 1942, and in March 1943, he was discharged from service to accept employment in an essential wartime industry. That essential wartime industry was, again, lectures on spirituality and metaphysics. So I think essential workers has always been a flexible category. Neville continued giving lectures around New York on his metaphysical concepts, and then he moved to Los Angeles in the 50s. Neville landed a TV series where he would deliver lectures on his own brand of biblical esotericism. He was a contributor to the New Thought movement, which arose in the late 19th and early 20th century, and is more or less still with us. Boiling the main takeaway of this whole esoteric movement down is it's kind of the, if you think about something and remain positive through affirmations and declarations, you will get what you want. School of thought, right? Jenny, how do you feel about the kind of positive thinking, New Thought, power of positive thinking movement? Do you have any?
I don't have any like opinions about it, other than like the concept of like positive thinking. I have been your boys in therapy, and one of my assignments is to stop thinking negatively about myself and to like navigate conversations into like positive thinking, because it like affects how both the person I'm speaking to will see me, but also me, right? So in that sense of like the positive thinking, right? I know about it, and I see it, and I have to be working on it. But anything beyond that, I'm clueless and I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, like I'm with you. Like I feel like the kind of words of affirmation, that kind of stuff, and kind of like building up a positive self-image is like good. But then I feel like when it gets into the kind of like you can manifest anything you want from the universe by like being positive and like willing it into existence, I'm like a little more iffy, mainly because I feel like that always turns into like, well, you didn't believe hard enough or you weren't positive enough. And that's always like, oh, come on. Like,
that part of it sucks, right? Because you want to be able to be like, I thought about it hard enough and it came true. But
right.
like, is that kind of, it's like a lot of those things. Like if you think on it hard enough, if you pray on it hard enough, it's gonna happen. Like, and it doesn't happen. You're like, you didn't pray on it hard enough. You didn't think positively enough, and then it's kind of now on you, as a person that you didn't work on it hard enough.
For sure. Yeah. So there's like levels to it. Like at a certain level, it's like kind of grounded in like cognitive behavioral therapy, like building positive self-image. That's fine. We're not necessarily talking about that here. We're getting a little bit more out there. Neville's early stuff largely kind of fell in line with the, think positive, imagine, think and grow rich type of stuff. I did not read any of his early stuff. I am just trusting the sources I came across, which are included in the script. He never really split from the New Thought movement, but he increasingly viewed the process of visualizing success as just the starting point of the spiritual journey, right? The end point of the spiritual journey to Neville was, quote, that each of us is Christ waiting to be liberated through metaphysical rebirth. This is the true symbolic meaning of the crucifixion, in which God became man so that man could one day know himself as God. Our imagination, Neville taught, is the God seed. So he came to believe later in life that reality itself was shaped by our consciousness, not by manifesting reality out of thin air, but by selecting one of an infinite number of possible outcomes from our lives. So this did not land as well as his kind of like think and grow rich stuff, right? They were like, play role shit, basically. But he's become kind of a mainstay of the New Age movement posthumously. And the fact that many of his lectures are recorded has made sure that his success would translate well into the digital age. The r/Neville Goddard subreddit has nearly 160,000 members, and the YouTube channel Never Goddard has over 200,000 subscribers. And as I write this, several of the videos have over 1 million views. Although Neville Goddard - how to ask I am to get anything you want in life (parentheses listen every day) has only 1.2 million views. So maybe the 200,000 people only listen to it 6 times each. In which case, get your shit together, because it should be 146 million views. That's how much it should be if you're listening every day.
Guys.
Neville gets, I just don't think you're about it. I don't think you're positive enough if you're not listening every day.
Come on.
But Neville gets brought up a lot in shifting spaces and is frequently cited as laying the foundation for shifting or being the first reality shifter. It's also worth noting that quantum theory, of course, gets thrown in around as evidence that his theories were correct. But thinking back to Quirky Weiner's post and their position that, quote, the multiverse theory is for people that believe that we shift to another universe, another reality. The consciousness theory is people that believe that we just shift our consciousness. We don't actually go there. I have to say the consciousness theory is stupid. It goes against the whole idea of shifting. From reading through the shifting Reddit, I don't think that this division is super drastic. There doesn't seem to be like a whole lot of debate around it. There's occasional threads, but mostly people kind of talk about like how you do it, how we get it done, that kind of stuff, right? My experiences in there. And as a skeptic about the feasibility of applying quantum physics to shift between realities, I'm kind of like, I don't think that that's really, you're probably not jumping between realities IRL, but whether we're talking astral projection or a psychedelic trip, there's plenty of context where people have very profound and meaningful experiences exploring their own psyches, and I think that's great. Not that I've ever done psychedelics, of course. In spite of
like, not me.
Couldn't be me. In spite of some roots and increasing entanglement with New Age spirituality and metaphysics, reality shifting as an online trend is a very new thing. So it kicked up during the early pandemic, and this peak during that first year of COVID has not been matched, but it's still there. There are still influencers creating videos, recounting their trips to their DRs. YouTuber Strange Eons views reality shifting as a branch of self-insert fan fiction, one that's perfectly suited for TikTok, where the term rose to prominence and still exists as shift talk. TikTok wants short-form videos of people talking, and reality-shifting videos are usually that, someone talking about their experiences in their DR. Strange Eons further posits that the majority of shifters do not believe that reality shifting is possible, and that's more of a development in the fanfiction genre convention that facilitates a more of a first-person story, right? And JT, as our resident fanfiction expert, could probably speak more on that than I can. Strange's explanation makes a lot of sense to me, but I think that there's also a reason that some shifters feel so strongly about defending the idea that they are actually shifting across universes. Shit sucks in this one.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that it's a coincidence that the reality shifting rose to prominence during the height of the COVID pandemic. The trend also experienced a spike, and the term perma-shifting grew in popularity in 2022 with the Supreme Court leak of the draft decision on Roe v. Wade and the subsequent official ruling. When those were both released, we saw spikes in both of those. Perma-shifting is exactly what it sounds like. It's the idea that you are completely shifting, leaving your reality forever for your desired reality. It's a controversial topic within the shifting community. Some feel it goes too far. Some feel that it's a path to a better life in a better reality, and that the concept of clones covers any potential downsides to leaving this one. So there are a lot of people looking for escape, and there's a lot in this reality that we want to escape from. There was what Strange Eons describes as a mini moral panic when shifting first rose to online prominence, with many people mocking the trend and shifters for believing in it. There's a fair share of pearl clutching about it being escapism, and some went as far as to call it a form of mental illness. To me, the escapism alarm doesn't mean much, because you could say the same thing about most leisure activities. Whether you're playing video games, binge watching reality TV, hitting the gym twice a day, or clocking in for your 9-hour goon sesh. On a mental illness note, there is only one scholarly article on reality shifting at the time I'm writing this, by Eli Summer, who was the psychologist who coined the term maladaptive daydreaming. Summer does not view shifting as a mental illness, but as, quote, a deliberate, absorptive, and rewarding alteration of consciousness induced by hypnotic-like procedures. He's an academic, so of course he cautions that the risks associated with the practice need to be examined, but so do the benefits, the phenomenological meaning, and the psychological drives and functions of the practice. I do not believe that reality shifting is a practice involving quantum physics and actual drifts between universes, but I don't believe that just because something is a mental practice, it is automatically less profound or meaningful for practitioners. Whether you're finding genuine solace from a cold, indifferent universe, a planet where the natural world is dying, while nation-states slip into fascism, and tech overlords profit from our division, while trying to instate a cyberpunk version of feudalism, or you're trying to brainstorm a fan fiction scenario where you're blowing Draco Malfoy's back out. We need to keep dreaming of a better world, and we need to keep working towards it. So, reality shifting.
Reality shifting. It is, yeah, I in the midst of that, I put like peak during COVID because we couldn't travel, we couldn't go anywhere else, right? And the lucid dreaming versus astral projection versus shifting concept really interested me, because I am not too familiar with either lucid dreaming or astral projecting. I can't say the word projection.
Right.
Astral projection kind of a little bit scared me, because I always think about it as like, what if I get stuck, that kind of thing. Right. Can you accidentally do it? What if I blah blah blah, like, whatever, that kind of thing. Right. But yeah, but it's interesting that there's like a kind of connection, but also warring factions in between that, and then the consciousness theory versus multiverse theory warring factions as well, with the centrists. It's very interesting of like, we are all here together, however the method and way we get to it is different, or the reason how we get into it is different, but we're all getting to the same place. Is very interesting.
We have the same end goal.
Yeah, and it really is just like I think you said, as the resident former employed person of Archive of Our Own, it really is just, I think, a leveled up version of the like insert yourself fan fiction or the your name fan fiction, right? Yeah. Yes, you can just go ahead and write your like an insert name your name fan fiction where you're blowing out Draco Malfoy's back and then sending him right back onto Harry Potter, who is getting his back blown out by another person out there. And this is just like an elevated or a little bit more self-insert version of it, and that isn't just like writing and imagining your name as Y/N. So I
Yeah,
it's very interesting.
And I think that like Strange Eons points out, like it's really very good for TikTok too, because you can be like, oh my god, you guys, what I saw Ron doing at the party, oh shit, it was wild, y'all, like that kind of shit.
That is fan fiction in and of itself.
Right.
Like that is just like verbal, someone telling you their thing that they made. It is like it's podfic, right? That is what it's called on there. So yeah, it's just a new form, or like an adapted form of fan fiction, and I think it's very, 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 very interesting.
Oh, and on the lucid dreaming, I realized I didn't explain why they like don't really believe that's lucid dreaming. They kind of point out that like in a lucid dream, you're aware that you're dreaming and you can do anything you want to change the dream, right? Where for their experience, from the reality shifters experiences, you feel more like you are a member of the reality that you are in, but you don't have the control to change anything beyond what you would as just a normal person. So
well, that helps. That helps.
Yeah.
I mean,
again, I've never lucid dreamed. I tried the reality shifting. It didn't work for me, so I can't speak to the difference from personal experience. But that's what I heard.
Yeah. I'm not that very good at imagination, so I don't think I'd be able to do any of the lucid dreaming, astral projection, and shifting. I don't have the dedication to it. I couldn't even move a cloud, Ben.
Yeah, but you tried. I tried.
Yeah.
Once we gotta decalcify your pineal gland, JD.
I gotta feel the earth more.
Yeah.
At least not when I'm like, I have to touch the earth, I have to touch the grass, and I have to stand outside. The idea of just like, I don't know, hunkering down, creating a script of my intended destination, my intended like thing, I would just be like, oh, unimaginative. Well, maybe people do like a reality. They shift into a reality that's very similar to themselves, but a little thing is shifted, which is fine. But I don't think I would be capable of doing it. Merely because I'm dumb.
Yeah, I had no luck with it. I was definitely always like, also I was just like, man, trying to count while also imagining my reality is fucking hard. I can't do this. Like
that is like intense multitasking.
Yeah.
You're like 1 to 50, you say this, 50 to 100,
you say a different thing, and the whole time you're focusing on your DR. So
yeah,
shout out. It's a mental exercise. Good for y'all.
Yeah. For those who are successfully doing it.
Yeah.
Your brain, you can probably move a cloud like in a very serious way. Go out and attempt it.
Give it a shot. Yeah.
Clear the skies over my house so that the solar energy can come down on it. Okay.
Yeah. Lower that PG&E bill.
Lower that PG&E bill right freaking now, because the goddamn clouds are not allowing it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, shit.
Shift.
Shift.
Yeah.
Put an F in there. Shift. Holy shift.
There we go.
That kind of thing. But yeah, I think it's interesting when you said like, is it a sin to reality shift? It's a very interesting like question, and I understand why someone would ask it, right? Because like, could there be a sense of like magic in it to blah blah blah? But also, like, if you're shifting into the world of Harry Potter, if you were already in the belief system that says don't read or consume Harry Potter,
right, and then you go to Harry Potter world, then you're
so it's an extra,
you're participating in it.
That's a very interesting question to have.
And I was like, like you're leaving your soul, like you're splitting your soul. I don't know what the Catholic catechism is, but like I could see why people would be like, oh man, is this like bad? Like I'm like splitting myself. I'm like, and there was also like debate that I couldn't find any like solid explanation on, of like the clone, or like what happens to the person's like consciousness when you shift into them, right? Like if you're taking the many worlds interpretation and you're putting your consciousness into a different universe, it's kind of like the Wonder Woman thing, right? Where like the guy comes in from the past and his consciousness goes into some other dude's body. What happens to the dude's consciousness? Is he just like sent into the sunken place? We don't like.
Yeah.
Is that a sin? You're like stealing somebody's body.
Is it a sin? We can't really talk about that right now. Is it fucked up? Maybe we can answer that better.
Maybe.
It's a little messed up. It's a little bit messed up.
Yeah.
Right?
But
you're booting someone out of their body to take over for a second.
Yeah, like the version of you that's at Hogwarts is just minding their own business, and then suddenly they're like, where are they? They're just booted.
Tell us right now.
Yeah. And also, what if somebody wanted to shift to our reality? Like, what if somebody was like,
How would you feel if someone booted you
and
out
they
of your own
booted
body?
me out of my body. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they can do it too. Any version of you could do it at any time.
Mhm.
And there's infinite versions of you. So there's got to be at least a couple that are like, I want this. I want this
infinite
world.
Tooting and booting you out of your world.
Yeah.
So think about it. Next time you shift, how would you
Consider.
we turn into parents. We're like,
Yeah.
consider this next time that you try to boot someone else out of their body. How would you like it if someone did that to you?
Because we're almost 30.
Where do you think
We're reaching that age where we're just like, yeah.
Okay, so where do you think you're going,
Yeah.
young lady, young man, young individual? Huh?
Yeah.
You think about that next time.
Yeah.
Leave a little note.
Food for thought.
Just in case. Yeah.
Leave
Leave a little note on the side of your bed. Make sure you tell us where you're going.
Yeah.
What world you're into. Leave your script.
I will come to that reality. Oh.
Yeah.
Don't make me come in there.
I'll bring you back by the ear.
Yeah.
And you better say sorry to the person that you tooted and booted out of there. Okay.
Yeah.
Leave a little note. Be like, did you say thank you? You did it.
Yeah.
So.
Exactly. We raised you better than that. No, yeah.
we here at Ice Cream Mimi Podcast raised you better than that.
Yeah.
Okay? Makes them be considerate.
That's all we ask.
That's all we ask.
Not mad.
We're not mad.
Just disappointed.
Some little. Yeah. So. Yeah, no, be considerate when it comes to. Maybe that's our like input on like this world is like be kind to the body that you boot into. And hope that the person booting into your body is as kind to you, right?
Yeah.
Do unto others as you.
Right, and that was one of the other things. Was like
Montessori learning for just a little bit. Do unto others as you would like to do to yourself. Okay, be kind in that body as you wish that someone would be kind to the body. Yeah.
So. And I think the reality shifting. It seems like they kind of do encourage moral behavior.
Yeah.
Because you are not just like lucid dreaming where you can do anything with no repercussions. You're in a different reality where what you do has ramifications for the people that are very real in that reality. So yeah.
Be kind and rewind the film. That's a good movie.
That's a pretty solid movie. Yeah,
that's a good movie where where they go and do other realities by filming. I don't know. I can't connect this to this, but go watch that movie. There's a scene in there that's a little bit like, oh, this aged very badly.
I don't remember. I don't recall this, but
I think it was Jack Black in blackface.
Oh, okay.
Because I remember rewatching it maybe like a couple years ago, and I was like, oh, this is not good, actually. But yeah.
Do not recall. We'll have probably won't revisit that.
Don't revisit. I think we could just find a clip of it somewhere. But yeah, good movie.
Cutting this out of the podcast. No, we're not. Yeah.
But yeah. I haven't really thought about shifting in terms of anything outside of the Harry Potter context. Because that is where I've seen it the most.
A lot of Harry Potter stuff out there.
Yeah.
Occasionally Shadowhunters mentioned, which I have not read via EP, is a big fan of. But I can't speak of from personal reading experience.
I've never seen it, but I was on Tumblr during that era. And I think a couple of my friends watched it.
Yeah.
Because they were also in the Glee fandom. Yeah.
I guess there's a lot of content out there. So there's a lot of it's a pretty well fleshed out world as well. So people are into it. That's a shame.
But speaking of Glee and a fleshed out world, it's my turn, baby. Yeah. Now that you are keenly aware of what shifting is and the world of fiction, we're not going to go into that, but you're going to have to keep that in mind. Ben, you've said a couple of things that I will draw back into, especially the many worlds theory and kind of later. So keep that in your noggin. So we're not going to go into shifting, but we're going to go into the concept of channeling fictional characters. So you've already heard of Harry Potter fans shifting into Hogwarts in the world of Harry Potter, or what is it about Draco Malfoy? Because you were talking about Draco Malfoy and mine also has like Draco Malfoy in it, right? We're talking to Draco Malfoy or whatever, but we're going to move a decade or so back into just a small aspect of Andy Blake / Than Fiction's actions and fandom spaces, starting off in the Lord of the Rings fandom. In this, we're going to specifically touch on Andy's channeling of characters, not at all, though, disregarding all of the crimes that he's been a part of or taken part in. But for the purposes of today's episode, we're just going to go into the channeling characters part of it all, right? In the script, I have linked a doc that outlines let me get into a little bit seriously for a moment. I've linked a doc that outlines the danger of Andy Blake / fanfiction, and it's probably the most succinct place to give you the rundown of Andy and his work. The T blogger on Tumblr still actively documents Andy's activities and is the most up-to-date regarding his work, post getting exposed on everywhere, and coverage on Fandom Wank and other spaces. Andy is still active. Be careful, be aware of Andy's quirks and all of the things that he has done. Now that I'm done with the warning on Andy, in the midst of the exposure era for Andy, I was in the Glee / Teen Wolf / Star Wars / Hannibal and Marvel fandoms actively on Tumblr. As a fandom person, I've experienced a lot of fandom quirks. RPF shippers, which is like real people fiction shippers. An example for that is like Kingsman, the movie. So it was Colin Firth and Taron Egerton. So people would write, RPF shippers would then write fan fiction about Colin Firth and Taron Egerton. Right. And then I've experienced quirks such as that, people breaking NDAs during the prom episode filming of Glee by tweeting about what has happened and then getting threatened on Twitter about like, you'll never work in this industry again, by one of the producers of Glee. Then BNF, aka Big Name Fans, fighting other big name fans on their sort of authority on Tumblr about like canon or something, then getting bullied off of Tumblr because I was bullied off of Tumblr for a hot second because I said that maybe we shouldn't ship a gay character with his homophobic bully who does later come out as gay. But who knows? What was I saying as a teenager, right? Bully me!
Get out of here!
Get out of here! Don't you dare say that ever again. But yeah. However, I was surrounded by very funny yet sensible people who I am still friends with to this day. And this is probably what prevented me from getting into deep, deep trouble as a minor on the internet and led me to leaving fandoms very early and with my head still on straight, but a little funny in the end, right? None of that is comparable, though, to Andy Blake / fanfiction's antics in the early 2000s in the Lord of the Rings fandom and other fandoms that appeared during his time. In this specific piece, we're going to discuss his use of channeling in order to draw attention to himself, but also potentially establish himself as a figure, trademark, in fandoms, because who all else at that moment could say they were essentially channeling fictional characters, right? So early 2000s, right? Now, before we go into Andy's active channeling, let's first talk about what it is. According to Live Science, channeling is when someone becomes a vehicle or a vessel, for you supernatural fans, for a spirit, and that spirit then communicates through that vessel, right? This could be someone's family member who has passed, a famous celebrity who has passed, or something along those lines. Basically, someone who is dead is now inside of a living person's body so that they can communicate through that person. This has been around for a very long time and is done for many reasons, right? Talking to your deceased sister, seeking counsel from your ancestors, finding a cure from some illness that you have, or whatever else you could want from some long dead person. In Andy Blake's case, though, it wasn't that. Andy, at that time, reportedly channeled fictional characters and even celebrities. You didn't even have to be dead
that's what I was
or
gonna
real.
ask,
You didn't have to be dead or real for Andy to get. Andy can channel you. Before we move forward, I'm summarizing events, and all of them can be read from various places, but I specifically read through the Fanthropologist summary from July 2014 and T Blogger's posts. Initially, Andy posted about channeling Lord of the Rings' character Mary Brainbuck, played by Dominic Monaghan. This then led him to convincing, but mostly manipulating, some individuals in the fandom to also believe they were doing the same thing, right? Post Andy, some people came forward to verify that they didn't actually believe that they were channeling or doing any sort of like thing in that space, but that Andy was just very fucking proficient at convincing people that they were, right? Really good at manipulating them, right? So later Andy was part of a conspiracy that claimed that Dominic Monaghan and Elijah Wood were in a relationship. Evidence from the fact that Andy had claimed that he was channeling Elijah Wood.
Right, of course. Yeah.
So source, trust me, because Elijah Wood was in me for like a hot second. Not in that way, but in a different way, right? And we're going to deviate from Andy now, but I'm just going to remind you again, if the idea of Andy Blake channeling is very interesting to you and your interest in him has peaked, you have to be warned that Andy is not a good person. He has an extensive and documented history of abuse, manipulation, financial fraud, crime, impersonation, and other things. So if we're going to close out on my usual sort of like, what's so scary about this thing that I tend to do for my scripts, for channeling or even for Andy himself, it's that semi-comedic speck of danger that Andy Blake. The scary thing about the Andy Blake thing is that you get introduced to him through this comedic aspect of like channeling living celebrities and fictional characters, and you get interested in him, but then you're like, oh, the draw to him is all this weird stuff, but then he's done some very bad things. So the quirk sort of steps out and distracts you for a second from the fact that he's a terrible person. So when I first looked into Andy Blake / fan fiction, it was because I heard of the channeling thing, and at that point I could have just hung on to the idea that curiosity, but curiosity taught me quite a bit that day, and it sort of changed a bit of that humor that I found in some dude who tried to convince people that he was channeling Elijah Wood or something. I think also Orlando Bloom, but I don't remember.
Oh, his horse.
Yeah. He was going at him. But let's broaden now for a second. Channeling fictional characters or even bringing them into the real world is a thing that's done by people. Something that I discovered during this whole research period. We can think of recent popular examples. Ben.
Yes.
I was gonna say bread.
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 All right.
Hey, bread.
Yeah.
Not even Brad or
bread.
bread. I was just like, hey, bread. I'm ill, you guys. So channeling fictional characters is a thing that's done in the real world by people, as something I discovered. We can think of recent popular examples. Ben, just think back to the Many Worlds interpretation. Christine Weston Chandler's of Sonnetrue fame, who prophesized the dimensional merge in 2018, which was supposed to be the merging of Chandler's fictional world with the real world, right? And then we can consider the known example of My Little Pony Tulpas that I discussed in the most recent SCP episode. As a reminder from r/Tulpa, a Tulpa is a mental companion created by focused thought and recurrent interaction. Tulpas possess their own will, thoughts, and emotions, allowing them to act independently. We also have folks who talk with fictional characters and develop relationships with them through this experiences. This gets addressed by the wider public in various ways, right? Mockery, redirection, or acceptance. Mockery in the way that people will make fun of the person for thinking that this could happen and saying that the person is under the influence of some sort of drug or beverage. Redirection in the way that people will redirect that person to the idea of imaginary friends being an acceptable way to do this, or then acceptance in the way that people will exchange ideas on how to do it or compare their work. You've done it this way, but I've done it this way. Let's compare notes, like Ben said. Another is a milder example of people just emulating fictional characters through their daily lives, either to be able to write them or to be better in their stories, to get through a terrible workday, or to just borrow some of that character's charm and confidence, right? Channeling seems to be one of those things that hinges on the way that you are using it and sharing about it. Think about it. Someone tells you they channel spirits, right? That's fine and acceptable, even if you might not believe in it entirely, because that's like an acceptable thing, right? You've heard people channel spirits, channel ghosts, that kind of thing, and you're like, okay. Established
enough that we're kind of like, yeah, sure.
You're kind of like, that's fine. I might not believe in it, but I'm like, good on you, right? It's the conventional idea for channeling. It's the mainstream idea of channeling. But when someone tells you they're channeling Kim Possible, you're probably gonna go, wait, like in what way, right? You're like, so you can, I don't know, right? Kim Possible fan fiction better, so you can navigate the world like her, like to have that sort of sense of confidence and like agility. You move through the world like badass, like Kim Possible, or is it that Kim Possible speaks through you and talks to your friends through you, that kind of thing, right? We can sort of think of channeling in this space, in the fiction character space, as one of the ways we interact with media and fiction, right? The other day I got the chance to ask a friend about something that I'm always curious about when it comes to fan fiction writers, right? What gets her to write fan fiction about certain shows but not others, right? She gave me a fantastic answer that I'm probably going to bastardize here because I'm me, and essentially it was down to how much further she wanted to interact with a character or a piece of media, right? Were there situations that she wanted to see certain dynamics try to navigate, right? Was there a relationship she wanted to flesh out further? What more does she want to get from that piece of media that she can create herself, right? So we talked about like how like shifting is just maybe perhaps another form of like the Your Name fan fiction kind of thing. And this was like me sort of getting into that of like, well, what makes someone want to like channel or bring out a character from that world and into this like sort of space where they want to develop it further, right?
Sure.
And I was kind of like, okay, so like you wrote it about this but not about this other thing that you watched. Why? She was like, it's because I just wanted to see what else anyone can do for that, whether it be me or like someone else writing about it, right? Usually when I watch one of my very terrible dramas that I've started watching, I have the urge to look for fan fiction of them to see its like popularity or how people want to play in the sandbox of that world. Yeah. Like sometimes I'll remember that like how much, what do they say about like Avatar being like earning so much money and da 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 da, like I'm like, okay, so like it was very popular, like what, 1 billion, blah blah blah, this is this long, and I'm like, yeah, but how popular is it in terms of fan
fiction? The people that really like cling on to it and like dig into it. Yeah, right.
Yeah. So like how popular is it in that way, right? And there was fic, but like I don't think it's the level of like something from like for all you AO3 heads out there, right? Like what is like the top pairing right now in terms of like male / fiction, which is like male pairing is like I think from the Untamed, Wing and Mahjong, that kind of thing, right? Sometimes I'll see something that has like 12 pages, 70 pages, 120 pages, depending on the show's newness, right? Sometimes I'll see like 2 to 3 things in a work that in like a sometimes I'll see 2 to 3 fan fictions only in that in the show's like prominent or main pairing or that tag, and I'll think to myself like, was this show not popular? But like after this whole like question and answer thing with my friend who is a fan fiction writer, it was more like, did people, it's no longer in my head as like, was this show not popular? But like, did people not want to explore more of these characters, right? Like was it in a sense like everyone watched the show, or most people watched the show and were like, everything like, I've seen, enough, kind of that's enough, right. Or like everything is enough. I've seen everything that needs to be done. I don't want to explore it more. Right. Let's leave it at that. Right. Like for me in my head recently, I finished this show. It had 2 seasons and it was like, 1st season, so good. Let's go. And then the 2nd season, I was like, this is the most devastating thing I've ever seen. It was so sad. I'm like, someone has to have tried to fix this. Right. So I went and I was like, what do you mean it only has like 128, like, what is it, stories on it? I was like, 128 only? You guys didn't ask yourself, like I don't write fan fiction because one, not very good writer in the fiction space, and I don't understand how to put myself in anyone else's body. I told you I can't shift because I have 0 imagination. I probably couldn't channel anyone at all, right? And then like for me at that sense, I was like, it was very popular, right? It was very good. It was popular enough to get a 2nd season, and the pairing, the actors, they got like multiple like magazine covers, blah blah blah, and I was like, it's popular. But was everyone just like, this happened and I'm satisfied with it? So do you think that I guess it kind of speaks to like the completeness of a show. Do you think that it happens more where does it happen more where people are like, I feel like there's like holes here that I want to fill? Yeah. Like, is that it's enough? Or like, is it saying that like, oh, this is a perfect show, so no notes? Is that kind of what like the fan fiction, a lack of fan fiction says, you think? Yeah. In my brain, it like, as like I told you, like as someone who was like using fan fiction, using fan fiction as like a way of like, is this show popular? Yeah. I then have started to think of like, does that mean it's like the perfect show for like most people who have consumed it? Like they didn't see any plot holes. Everything was like covered up, and like, that's why you're not writing anymore. Like you could just go ahead and rewatch this over and over again instead of like seeking out someone who like maybe fixed it. Right. But then asking that sense is like, there exists like AU versions of shows as fan fictions, right? Someone will write an alternate version of it, and because they just like the characters so much, and that character's dynamics. They will stick them in a different world.
Yeah.
But there's also not so many of it in that one. And I'm like, was this the perfect world for them for you? Or you just didn't want to put them anywhere else to like kind of thing. So it's like now I'm seeing the act of creating fan work as like different than like, oh, so it wasn't even popular.
Right.
No, it's more like, are people like not done with it, but like this is the perfect place and the perfect structure for these people.
Yeah, and they're like, I got everything I wanted out of it.
Yeah.
There's nothing that I was like on the table that I was like, oh, this should happen. That kind of thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I literally, when I saw it only had 128 works on it, I was like, the characters are literally so interesting. Is it because they've already been fleshed out enough that people are sort of just rewatching it over and over again, and they're completely okay with that, right? The sum of the stuff that I had like looked through, it was like they will put them at like they met at a different age, but it's still in the same like world. It's still in the same like structure of everyone else, and it's like I'm like, is it? In my brain, I'm still like, yes, it's very popular, and I know people love it. It has on Viki, it has this rating. Though I don't trust Viki ratings at all, because sometimes you people will give something an 8.2 and it's like perfect, but you bastards will give something a 9.7 and it is the most whack shit I've ever seen. Put your neck right here. What's wrong with you?
What is Viki? I've never heard of it.
Oh my god, Viki is like it's like a streaming service, but it's like mostly like Asian like dramas, that kind of thing. Girl, if either you or the EP want to borrow it from, I mean, off cam.
Yeah, if you'd like to suggest that I buy it, yes, of course. Yeah.
Okay. Media training. Ben, Viki is such an interesting Asian streaming service. It has a lot of Asian dramas available on it. For the EP who is learning Korean, who is getting to know more Hangul, great way to do that. I suggest you check out Viki. It does have some free options on it, and there are some standard and paid shows that you should check out.
Okay.
Kind of thing, but it's very good. So anyway, you bitches still rate things with a 9 and doesn't deserve it. Get that shit together. What do you mean? Anyway. Okay, so now that now that I watch TV again, you bitches better watch out.
Yeah.
Y'all are wrong.
You're on notice.
They need to
fix these ratings, goddammit.
They need to get letterboxes just for me while I yell at you bitches. Anyway. Yeah, like it's shifted from like, oh, it's not popular enough, but also like, are people just done with it but they can rewatch it over and over again, right?
Yeah.
But just to turn it around on the two of us, Ben.
Yeah.
What are some ways that you tend to interact with any like sort of fiction or any sort of media after you've consumed them? Do you like watch video essays on them? Do you look up like IMDb or Wikipedia pages? Do you have any sort of urge to find any like fan created work about it, whether it be like fan art or like fan theories or fan ideas about it? Like what is like a common way for you to like interact with a piece of media after you're done with it?
Yeah. For sure, video essays, podcast episodes, kind of discussing it. I am on Letterboxd, so I like to see what other people like. If it's film, or I think now television is also on Letterboxd. I like to see what people are saying about stuff. Not really going into the fan art or fan creations. That's never really been my cup of tea. Yeah. But what about you? What's your route after you've finished watching something?
When I finish watching something within the 5 years it was created, it usually is because a friend has also seen it, and I really got curious to it. So I will talk to a friend about it, and then that, because of my experience in fandom, I don't necessarily go into the fandom spaces anymore because they kind of scare me. They scare you. I'm making a lot of language errors in this one. I'm getting angry at people.
Italian JD coming out here.
I'm fucking Italian. Let's go. Anyway, but I like seek out my friends who have like consumed it already, because either they can tell me that like they're like thoughts about it, right? Like the thing that I would do with like back when I had like 2,000 followers on like Tumblr or something like that, I would not do it with like 5 to 10 friends, because I don't have the danger of like someone calling me like the incorrect Asian slur because I said don't do this kind of thing. Like I used to try and make like I used to try and be on like a sock puppet like Twitter account to interact with like fan thoughts or like fan art about like things, but I realized that like it doesn't make a difference if people don't know who I am. I still will get a headache, or someone will still say like shut up because I said like maybe don't ship those two characters because they are twins. They're siblings, you bastard. Anyway, I'll be getting angry on this one anyway. Yeah, so that's my usual route now, is just talking to my friends about it, who will then send me like fan video edits or video essays or like someone's fan art. One of my friends is like a really big like fan. God damn it, the chaos of this one is just me pulling over.
Strong.
Anyway,
strong today.
Dying in the corner, but like one of my friends is a big like big name fan, BNF in our flag means death. So I would get like fan art from them because they're also a fan art creator. They do cosplay. A lot of their friends do cosplay. Like I went to a last year went to like a drag our flag means death like show. So like it's that kind of thing where it's like physical participation in them, watching friends take part in them. And I'll read like a friend's like fan fiction, that kind of thing. Yeah. Because they're that kind of thing. But yeah, that's my usual thing now, is just like I'll watch one of the weirdest ways I'll do it is like I'll watch like a crack video, it's called, on like YouTube, which is like just like edits of like bits and pieces of the show set to like different context, or like it'll have like Vine audio on them. Vine audios, well, they are Vine audios, okay? TikTok does not have as many iconic bits and pieces of it, right? It's like crack edits of that. I'll give me one of your favorite things and I'll find a crack edit of it, right? But yeah, now that we know what methods we have interacted with like fan fiction or media after, right? In terms of channeling, in the ways that we've gone through today for like my text, like is there a character or celebrity that you would be open to channeling? Well, I don't know why I put successfully or unsuccessfully.
Yeah.
I was like, you can do it bad or good.
Yeah, right.
Is there a character or a
you can fuck it up, or you can actually do it? Yeah.
You can actually end up in like Orlando Bloom's body, but this is the person that you intend to be. Yeah. Is there like a character or celebrity that you'd be open to doing that?
No, I don't know. Like I mean,
you're like, no, bitch.
I guess what are the purposes of channeling? Is it mostly like the emulation thing? Like, you think like
you could either like emulate like an aspect of them that you are like or like just to get through a little section of your day as this person, or like whatever, or like maybe you're writing like a biography of them, and you're like, well, for 1 second I would like to be Elijah Wood.
Let me get some insights here.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know, like did you watch Jim and Andy?
No. So
it's a documentary about Jim Carrey playing Andy Kaufman, and the film was called Man on the Moon, and it was basically Jim Carrey being like method acting and also claiming that he was channeling the comedian Andy Kaufman, to the point where he was like meeting with like Kaufman's daughter as like let's have father-daughter lunch and hang out, like that kind of stuff, like fully embodying and believing that he was Andy Kaufman. And I don't think I could do it. I don't think I could do that. I don't think that I could believe believe that I was doing it. But I don't think that that's something I'm capable of. It's not that there's not like I'm saying that I don't emulate anybody. Of course, they're like I'm sure that there are people that like if their consciousness was in my body, they would be able to handle life probably maybe better than I do. But I'm like I don't think I could get there. You know what I mean? Yeah. What about you?
Great turn to me because I did answer mine.
Yeah.
I think for me, no context to everybody at all, but a select group of people will have the context. For me, it would be an incredibly talented and well-managed musician. I think I could use some of that confidence and charm for like even a hot second, right? Like for me, sometimes I'm like, do you remember like when Beyonce had like Sasha Fierce, like for the Single Ladies album, like her album was called like I Am Sasha Fierce, but like she had the alter ego of Sasha Fierce. And I was sitting there like, I know in my mind, even before Sasha Fierce, Beyonce was like already kind of like the pinnacle of like a confident, like incredibly talented, like charming, like woman. And I was like, is that why Beyonce has Sasha Fierce, right? Does like Beyonce melt away for a hot second while like Sasha Fierce takes a hold of her body and settles her nerves? Like what becomes of Beyonce at that moment when Sasha Fierce absolutely like rips it to like Single Ladies, right? Like I guess maybe if there were like who would be like, yeah, I just would be like, who's a really good, well-managed musician right now? Who isn't like tired all the time? Who isn't like trying to remove all the mucus from their body?
if we were moving to the like the would you rather have $5 million or dinner with Jay-Z, would you have the similar answer of like
I'm like Jay-Z, hold up.
So that you can tell me all the
tell me all about this. Like sure, I could have money. I could pay off my house. I could pay off all our credit card. I would give us some money. I would give all my friends some money, and then just return back to like my regular life once I've spent all that $5 million. But then dinner with Jay-Z.
Yeah.
He would tell you could lead a man to fish. I don't know the rest of that one, but you could take a horse to water, but you couldn't make the horse like drink that water.
Yeah.
You know?
I've never had faith in my ability to have like conversations with people to be like, yeah, Jay-Z would tell me all the secrets. I feel like Jay-Z would be like, what are you doing here? I'd be like,
He'd be like, are you good? Like, you couldn't even order from the menu. I'm like, it's because I can't. There's no price on it.
Hello, Mr. Z. Is this your treat or mine? I don't know if I can financially recover from
Mr.
this.
Z, I chose the option of going on lunch with you, not the $5 million. So if you could cover this for like the next like 2 years before I like implement every like piece of advice that you give me. And also, may I please talk to Beyonce?
Do you know Beyonce? I'd really rather be talking to her. No offense, Mr. Z.
No offense, Mr. Z. I'd rather be talking to Beyonce, Solange, or your daughter North. So, like, I feel like they really have it together, sir. I'm really big fan of your music, but do you happen to know where those 3 women are at right now? Yeah. But yeah, that would be who I channeled. But I guess if we were going to look at an aspect of channeling to like go back into this as like, and to try and find something scary or like whatever, like maybe daunting and a little sad perhaps, but still understandable, is like, we could think about the idea that some of us need to try and embody someone who is not them or us in order to navigate like the world, right? Some of us need to not be ourselves for a hot second to get shit done because we think that the person we are is not suited for that situation or not fit for that situation, right? So moving away from Andy Blake's terror and Chandler's dimensions and all the strange My Little Pony tales that you've heard of, channeling not the paranormal kind can be many things: a way that we interact with media, a way we prop ourselves up, and a way we settle our bones. Because sometimes, I'll be so serious. I'm 4'11", okay? This is the context to that. I'm 4'11", right? Sometimes you do watch a television show and for a second imagine yourselves in the body of that 6-foot tall Asian man and think, boy, if I was him, I would navigate this world a little differently, right? For a second, get your head out of the gutter. I wrote this in a really poetic way, okay? For a second, you let him sit inside your chest and wonder how he would show up to that thing in a few months and absolutely smash it in a way that you might not, right? For a second, you imagine a different body going through a thing that you're doing and you think, I think that they would do it a lot better than what I'm doing right now, right? And that's just how it is, right? That's that. That's channeling. That's channel surfing.
Full circle back to Yorgos for the minute. I think that kind of relates to, I mean, the theme of Poor Things is having the child's mind in the mother's body, and there was a lot of interesting conversation about consent going on in the film, in Letterboxd, people talking about it, but I think that overall his read is very much an existential thing that kind of ties into this of wanting to be somebody else, but that we are fundamentally free by the nature of being a human being, despite what society or others may project onto us.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that that's kind of like part of a channeling thing is searching, and part of reality shifting is always searching for that freedom to be who you want to be, or to channel who you want to channel.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the existentialist reading would be that you don't need that because you yourself are already fundamentally free, and it's bad faith to live in a way where you're not, because to believe that you are not capable of these changes that you would like to make yourself.
Mm-hmm.
That would be the existentialist reading of it, I think.
How did we do that? How did we do unrelated to Poor Things and then get back to Poor Things?
Because I just saw Poor Things and now it's on my mind.
I wanted to go into like the comedy aspect of it and get a little funny with it, but I in the context of my personal existence right now, I was like, no, actually we're gonna go for it in like a sort of like altered version of you sense of way, because that is, I feel like even if these things are a little bit out of your understanding or like something that you don't particularly care about, you can at least find like the sense of like, this is for a second somebody wanting to be somewhere else, right? You daydream in your office job and you're at school in class of being somewhere else for even a hot second, and this is like another level of that, right? Someone taking like on action to take themselves out of that location and that moment in time to go, yeah, sure, raw dog, Draco Malfoy, but in a different world, in a different body. Maybe their script is written to show that they look exactly the same, or maybe now they're a 6 foot tall Asian man kind of thing. Yeah, it's like you can understand it from that method and that sort of point of view, instead of just like, oh, there's this girl who's dreaming about like doing the Eiffel Tower on Draco Malfoy kind of thing. Yeah, and I think the other point of like wanting to channel a celebrity or a fictional character because you think that they would, it's like, it's also like when we think about it, of like we're pushing, okay, in a sense, like I'm pushing Beyonce into my body, but like, let's say we switch for Rude and I had to be in Beyonce's body. I'm like, girl, get back into your body. Beyonce and I have the same 24 hours. No, we don't. Go back into your own 24 hours, right? There was like, I think there was like a tweet I saw maybe like a couple months ago of like, what's the weirdest like dream about BTS that you've ever had? And it was like a reply of like, I was in, I don't know which member's body it was, but it was like, the person was like, I was in this member's body and they were in mine, and they refused to switch back with me because they really liked my mom and they were like really having fun with my family. But in the dream, I was frantic because I couldn't speak Korean, and I kept trying to make him go back into the body.
Stressful. Yeah,
he was having too much fun in mine, and I was freaking out. Right. So in that sense of like, it would be cool for a hot second for like Beyonce to like to tackle my world or like go through that thing in like a couple months as Beyonce. But then I would have to go and do Beyonce's tour, and everybody would be like, is Beyonce sick? I'm like, Beyonce's dying right now.
Yeah.
Oh, Beyonce has to go to sleep for like the entire period that I'm in her body. I'm so sorry, you guys. Beyonce.
Change of plans for Beyonce.
And Beyonce, get back in here. And they're trying to make me dance and I can't.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. But yeah. And it's, it is what it is. It's like sometimes you kind of have to maybe like emulate in the sense of like, how would this person tackle this sort of thing and like, make it like my own sense of thing. It's like, what do they do in order to be able to be successful in that? Whether it be like get into like that headspace of like, oh, they practice a lot, or they go to their lessons a lot, or like they pay attention as much as possible, right? That kind of thing is like, you can mayhaps emulate it through that sense of like, look at what they might have done. Because like, I don't listen, me and Beyonce, we do have the same 24 hours in the day, but we do not have the same wallet and management in that 24 hours a day.
Some slight differences. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that kind of thing. I mean, that's we're all doing our best. I mean, that's like, I think always like seeking this grind set celebrity, because I feel like that kind of relates to it, right? Like it's like this desire to like emulate people, and whether we sometimes I think the channeling a celebrity thing is more ripe to make fun of for people than the idea that you're going to like listen to a fucking podcast with like Andrew Huberman interviewing some fucking dude and be like, yeah, I'm going to grind and I'm going to reach his level of success. And it's like, no, motherfucker, the system doesn't work that way. Shit doesn't work that way. It's a myth. It's all like equal. This is the same energy as the channeling, I think, being like, yeah, you're right. I'm going to do like a cold plunge every day and like emulate this guy's morning routine and my life will become 100 times better.
You're channeling, Buster.
It's all the same shit, bro. You're channeling. You're basically just channeling.
You're just doing it in a different word.
Yeah. I mean, we're all doing the same shit. We're all just trying to
we're all just trying to get by as the world gets fucked and is fucked.
Yeah. Our haters will become our waiters at the table of success. To quote.
And then I won't be able to order for them because I will still be anxious the entire time. I'd be like, hi, how's your day so far at work? I'm so sorry. I would like to get Caesar salad, but instead of the croutons, may you take the croutons out?
Yeah, the worst version I saw was like, like $10 million or a seat at this table. And it was like Elon Musk, Joe Rogan, Donald Trump. And like, what
am I going to do at that table?
Somebody was like, can I bring a grenade? Like,
be like, you know what? I'll take them for the team. I will go to that table and I will bring a grenade.
Yeah, all right. I'll Glorious Bastards situation. We're gonna have to do something here.
Yeah, it's nuts. Take that. Hey, take that $10 million. It might run out in 5 years, but you will have tried to pay off all your best as much as possible. Okay.
Yeah, $10 million. Yeah. $10 million. That's a life-changing amount of money. Let's be real. And I would
$100,000.
That's a life-changing amount of money. $50K. Give me $50K. My life would be different.
Hey. Okay. Straight up. Okay. Just give us some money, please.
Not for much. Just a little bit. Let's
money, please.
Let's manifest that shit. Yeah.
An angel investor, but you just invest in us as people.
Yeah, not the podcast necessarily.
we get use it on the podcast.
Yeah, for sure. $50K worth of production on this podcast. Can you imagine? Oh shit!
Can you imagine?
Like,
yes, I now have an SM58.
Yeah.
But could I have a filter? I mean, a little thing on it.
Little cup thing on it. Yeah, there you go.
So
yeah.
That will be $20.
Thank you. Shall we outro?
Yeah.
This episode was written and produced by Ben and JT. For all our sources, please head to the website in the description below. If you would like to reach out with a comment, suggestion, or share an experience with one of our topics today, except for I'm a little bit scared of reality shifters, please don't bully me. Send us a message at icecreamyoumeme@gmail.com. All the music for the podcast is provided by Yager Frank. Thank you so much. We'll catch you on the next episode.